Hey guys, Kevin is back for the leftovers, season 2, episode 6, Lens, and obviously really looking forward to this episode. I know I say it every single week, but they really have had a great season. And this episode was by far the best. However, that's very hard to do when you have a season this good. Every episode so far has been great. But I do think this one was the best of the bunch. I mean, there was so much great stuff in this episode. It was mainly focusing on Nora and Erika, the one member of the one character of the Murphys that we think we know, and then in this episode we realize we know nothing about her. And I loved about this episode. There was so much great stuff going on this episode, so many amazing scenes, and this is the episode that tells me that the leftovers must get Emmys. Like, seriously, they must get Emmys after this episode. I don't see how it's not possible after this episode um, to get Emmys, honestly. I don't see how they can't get Emmys at this point. So, the way this episode starts is very interesting because we see a poster about Evie and her friends missing under mysterious circumstances. And a man's trying to figure out the career of it. We don't know who this man is. We don't even know why he's here, what he wants, who he is. He's arguing with another man on the phone about it. He drives in his car, goes to Miracle, and tells a park ranger that he's there for research. When he goes through metal detectors, he says he refused to put his equipment through the machine. He's on a bus filled with a group of tourists singing. Which was funny. He sees posters of the missing children. He gets in a golf cart, drives, and the man asks if this is the home of Evie Murphy. And basically, Erica says that through until he reaches a destination to the Murphy, basically, Erica answers the door, and he asks if this is the home of Evie Murphy. And Erica asks what he wants. He takes a picture and walks away. Goes right to the Garvey house, and that was interesting. And she just took a picture, walked away. He goes right to the Garvey house, and Nora answers the door, and he says his name is Dr. Joaquin Quarto, and he asked to speak to her for a few minutes. She asked what it's about. He's asked when they moved into the house. He says the record says they moved in the house on the 21st, but when did they actually take the residence? And she says that she does not remember, and he doesn't know why he's asking her that. He says the girl next door disappeared on the 22nd, and he asks if that's the day they moved in, and did they make contact with her, and he gets out some kind of machine. We don't know what this is that he's getting out, and basically he gets out this machine, and again, we don't know what this machine is, but he gets it out, and basically, he has humanity physical contact with her husband and children on the October 14th in the moment of their departure, and Nora says to get the fuck off her porch. She's clearly bringing back memories she does not want to think about. He says, we'll only take a minute if she still holds still. She kicks his equipment, tells him to leave. He says he's just trying to help her. Erica asks her if she's okay. Nora says she's fine. You can tell that she's not, and that's kind of the thing of this whole episode, Nora's kind of acted this whole time like she's okay. And I think this is the episode that shows that perhaps she's not. I don't think Nora's really okay. She is acting like she's okay. She wants to think she's okay, but I don't think Nora is all the way okay. She's not season 1 Nora, I'll say that, but she's still dealing with a lot of shit, which, I mean, it's understandable. When most of your family disappears, how can you not be scarred for life? So Nora's outside of her house, and we get the most crucial scene in the episode when she throws a rock through the Murphy window. Now, she did this for two reasons. One, obviously, because of John not helping out Matt. She was mad with that. Two, I think it was just general stress. She wanted to get it out somehow, so she throws a rock through their window. She wakes up Mary and says she hopes she slept better than she did. She asks if she wants to visit Matt and today, and she must miss him. She then gets a phone call from a block number, and it's from someone named Dr. Allison Herbert. And she asks her how she is, and she says her colleague Quarto visited her this morning, and she says to not call this number and hangs up. She obviously does not want to hear about it. So Jill, who's the only character in this episode that really didn't have a standout scene. Everyone really had a standout scene in this episode except for Jill. But I think she will have something next week because it looks like next week's a big episode for her. She wakes up and Nora asks her if she's okay. And basically, and asks, Nora if she's okay. And Nora says she's just tired, didn't sleep great. Jill says she can look after Mary and tells Nora to sleep. Nora then closed the door and wakes up Kevin. He asks if the baby's awake, and Nora says not yet. And again, he's handcuffed to the bed. It seems like it's something they do regularly. And he says to uncuff him, and she says she will until if he cooperates. Then kisses him. He asks what happens if he doesn't. She says he will pay. He suddenly winces, pushes her off of him, and she asks if she hurt him, and he says he suddenly got a cramp in his leg, probably from the cinder block. I'm assuming that's what that's about. Um, Lily then wakes up and they lie in bed. And then Erica's on her computer looking at emails about Evie. Obviously, she wants to look up information about what's going on with Evie and what happened to her. And John tells her that someone threw a rock through their window. And she asks if he slept through it. And he asks what she thinks it's about. And he asks where she's going. She goes to get a broom and dustpan, obviously, to clean it up. The doorbell rings and Erica tells John not to answer. It's another investigator. He again goes to the Garvey house, and this guy's a bit more successful because this guy is actually a lot more friendly. He asks Nora if he can ask a few questions, then she asks who he is, and he says his name is George Brevetti with the DSD, which of course, Nora used to work for the DSD. And they get into a whole conversation about what branch she is and everything. And he asks if she knows the Murphys well, and she says she doesn't know them that well. They just moved in. He says they're lucky because it's hard to find a place there. And she asks what he wanted to ask her, and I like what he asked her. He asked if there's a good place to get breakfast. I mean, it has nothing. I thought it was gonna be a much deeper question than that, but no, he just wants to know about breakfast. I think that's great. And she says to try Smitty's, and he tries to get the attention of Erica, but she leaves before he can say anything. She clearly does not want to talk to anyone about this, which is not a good thing. I mean, these are investigators that are trying to help her out, but she, one, doesn't know who they are. Two, obviously doesn't really want to answer to them. And that's understandable. When you lose your daughter, why would you want to talk to anyone about it? Why would you want to face that? It's hard to do. So Nora goes back inside. Erica goes into the woods to put on gloves, digs up the bird in the box, and it's dead. She puts it into a pile with the other birds. Another one of the most crucial scenes of the episode. She then meets two other women, Loretta and Emily. Now, the one that played Emily, I swear I've seen her somewhere else. I can't think of where right now, but I know I've seen that actor somewhere else. They tell her that they need to talk to John and talking to the DSD, and she says John isn't the one not wanting to talk to them, she is. And they ask her, why not? Why not want to talk to them? And she says they've talked to the police and the FBI. They're the ones looking for the girls, not the DSD. And she says they haven't found them. And the man from the DSD says he could rule out. And Erica asks what questions he asked that they haven't already. And she says they're not supposed to say. She says they signed a non-disclosure agreement, and she asks what they were wearing to the fundraiser. Loretta says whatever she likes. She says she'll see them tonight. Tells Emily she smells like alcohol, and she goes away. So Nora goes into Smitty's, and she finds George eating a brisket, who says that it's a miracle. She asks if he's from Texas, and he says he's from DC, and she says she thought that they'd send someone from regional, which that would make sense. They'd send someone from regional, and he says that they're in a population of over 5,000 departure, and no departures, and then 3 girls disappear. They're not going to call regional. It's just more serious than that. So she says they're going to rule it as unconfirmed, and he says they won't rule anything until the Murphys talk to him. So he says he administered the new questions to the parents of the other girls, and none of the fraud flags popped. She asks about the new questionnaire, and he says the algorithm came from the Japanese and gave some interesting results. And she has to see it, and he says if he did, they'd fire him. If the questions got corrupted, there'd be no way to confirm the secondary is a real deal. He talks about how the car was still there, and the music was still blasting. All the personal effects are still inside. The car, purses, phone, pretty much everything was still intact except for the 3 girls. I mean, that's terrifying to think about. If you just see a random car running, obviously it's very terrifying to think about. So she asks if he's ever heard of someone ever being responsible for another person's departure, and he says it's called the lensing thing. The idea is that someone gives off ultraviolet rays to get everyone to lift. And it was in an article he read last month, and she says to forward it to her. So, very interesting stuff with this lensing effect. That's a huge part of this episode. Erika is told she is needed in exam 3, and she asks if someone else can take it. The doctor says it should probably be her. And the man is badly beaten up, and he says he didn't do anything. He was just selling water. And she asks how much, and he says it was just a couple bottles. She asks how much he's selling it for, and he says 500 milliliter. He says the samples he took from the spring are genuine. And she has to take a look at his hand, and he says they took his palm prints, and he doesn't know why. She asks if he can make a fist. He says he wants a copy of his report. The Rangers want a list of his injuries, and when he goes in to describe his attackers, she realizes that it was John that attacked him, and obviously lets him go because she's not gonna let, she's not gonna let her husband go to jail a second time. She's not gonna let that happen. So he asks why he would do that, and she says because she has plans tonight, she doesn't want to miss them fixing him up again. So she then finds Lily alone in her car seat and takes her. Nora looks up information about lenses. The doorbell rings. Erika tells her that Lily was on the hood of the truck. Nora says that Kevin was watching her. She thought she was down for a nap, and Erika says she worries she had a similar experience with Evie when she was 5, and Nora says she has a similar experience with her daughter Erin at 4. And Erika says she didn't know she had another daughter. Nora says she used to, but now she's gone, her son too. Erika says she's sorry. Nora thanks her, and again, another very crucial scene because we're seeing this bond that Nora and Erika have. It seems like it's a very strong bond, and obviously that changes because the end of this episode. We'll get into that though because I know you guys really want me to talk about the ending of this episode. But Nora sees Kevin working outside, hears him talking to Patti, who of course isn't really there. What I like about this episode is that we don't actually see Patti in this episode, because this episode is not in Kevin's perspective. This is in Nora and Erika's perspective, and they do a very good job with that, I have to say. It's something that they're doing very well. So, Kevin tells her he's talking to himself and apologizes about Lily. Nora says it's fine. She says he should hop in the shower. She's going to take Mary to visit Matt. Then she'll meet him at the visitor center for the fundraiser. And he didn't know that they were going to that. She asks why they wouldn't. He tells her how they asked them for help and then banished Matt. And she says Matt banished himself. And she says they should support them because it's what good neighbors do. So John fixes up the window. Erika asks if he's seen her batteries for her hearing aids. And he asks if she wants him to run to the pharmacy. And she says there's some upstairs. He asks if the rock through the window is because of him. And she tells him about the man he beat the shit out of this morning. And of course, what's great about this scene is, of course, Nora's the one that did it, and they don't really think anything of it. So they're not even thinking it's him. John's thinking he's responsible for this, and she tells him about the man he beat the shit out of this morning, and how he thinks it was because he was selling their water. John says he was selling lies, and she asks why he took his palm print, if it's because of the print that was on the car. That would make sense. Obviously, he'd want to find that paw print match, but that's going to be very bad when he finds that palm print match because, of course, it is Kevin's palm print. So, Erika says to call it what it is. He needs to hit people because he needs to hit people, and I really do agree with that. John has to take out his aggression in a violent way. He just needs to, and John says he's trying, and she says she knows. He kisses her, and they embrace. She sees Michael talking to Jill. Jill comes in. Nora asks if she wants to come to the fundraiser with them or with Kevin. She says Michael asked her, and Nora asks how his parents feel about that. She says she doesn't really think he asked them. She's not really asking her either. And she basically says that he's a sweet guy, and she's happy for her, and lets her go. So, I like that overall. Like I said, I really like Jill and Michael. I hope we see more of them than just this, because I think they handle their scenes very well. But it looks like next week we are going to see more of them. So then Nora again gets a call from a blocked number, and it's Allison Herbert again, and tells her not to hang up and let her have one moment, and this was ridiculous. I mean, what she explains here is a load of bullshit. It really is. She asks what she wants. She apologizes for Quano. She says he's a great scientist but lacks people skills. He should not have come their home to collect their data without their permission. She says the measurements he took were very promising. She says if they allow them to talk, they could let them gain access by replicating them in laboratory conditions. Nora asks if she thinks she's a lens, and she says she thinks she's familiar with this theory, and Nora says she really isn't. She just read an article. She says they moved to Jordan, a town with no departure, and that very night 3 girls disappeared, out of one of them being someone she lived next door to. So yes, she thinks she's a lens. She asks why, and she says it's what their research is, divisive. She would love to discuss with her in person. Nora says to just tell her right then. So then they come up with this whole thing about the demon Azrael and how Nora might be possessed by him. It's bullshit, okay? The show would never go there. I know that's not true. So Nora hangs up and cries, pretty much thinking that, that she gave this impression and she's really upset that this is happening to her and that she has to face these things. I mean, she's having to talk about some things that she probably really doesn't want to talk about. She doesn't want to deal with the fact that she lost her loved one. She doesn't want to deal with all that. She hasn't really had to, and now she has to face it again. She hasn't had to deal with it since Wayne took all that pain away from her in season 1, and you can tell that she still has some of that pain. So then we see Erika. She finds batteries for her hearing aids, and then a boy leaves something at their doorstep. And this was such a well done scene. Erika doesn't have her hearing aids turned all the way up, so the entire scene, like I said, is in her perspective. So we can only hear what Erika's hearing, and what she can hear is like very muffled sound. Like, when you're underwater and you can't really hear anything, that's what Erika hears when she doesn't have her hearing aids all the way up. So she's running after him with her hearing aids not all the way turned up. She's almost hit by a car because of it. I was like, holy shit, I hope she's not hit by a car. She asks why he ran, and she tells him to say it again and say it slow. She then goes to Virgil, and this is the man that Michael is praying with, and I don't know who Virgil is, but we find out a lot about him in this episode. So she asks him what the fuck the pie's about, and he says he sent it because he knows she's in pain, and she says that John got a pie on his birthday, and they weren't in pain then. He asks if this is about Michael coming to pray with him, and she says to stay away from her family, and he says he knows what he did, and he knows he can never make it right, and he also knew that she wished it wasn't so, but he is her family. She leaves, and he asks if she wants to take a burr with her. She asks why the fuck she would do that, and again, we don't know who this man is. I think we're definitely starting to get some clues, but I definitely like seeing that, because, again, we have another mystery of this character. So Nora takes Mary to visit Matt, who's out of the stockade already. He's out of the stockade, and he apologized to Mary for having to come out there again, but assures her not all the people are degenerates. She asks if this is his new congregation, and he says it's just a bunch of it's just a bunch of people that needed help, and I really like, the way he looks at this. He says all he had to do was let someone else take his place. Suffering breeds compassion, because, you have to wonder, why would he put himself in the stockade? Why would he make himself like that? Because he wanted to help them, and she tells him nobody does it like him. She tells him about how they took care of Mary. They even rented the bed like the one they had in Mapleton. And then when he tells her about, that they're going to this fundraiser, he's not all happy, because of course, the Murphys don't support him, and he says that they're going to be hostile towards them. And Nora says that they're not being hostile, and basically you can just tell that he really isn't happy about it, but she wants to do it nonetheless. So Erika stares in the mirror. John offers to help her with her necklace. She says she's got it. John says that Evie loved it on her, and he thinks that she just wanted her to give it to her, but she never took the hint. She said she did. She just wanted it for herself. She looks for Michael, and she asks if he's going to get dressed. He says to wait a minute, and she says she knew. She goes out there to pray with Virgil, and she asks if he knows what John would do if he found out. Michael says that he would shoot him again, and we realize that Virgil's the man that John went to prison for, which that's very interesting. And again, we don't know who Virgil is. We know he's part of the family, but is he John's father? Is he Erika's father? Is he a distant, relative? Or is he a cousin? I mean, he could be a lot of things. And she says he can't go out there anymore. He says he deserves forgiveness. Everyone who asks for it deserves it, even Virgil. She tells him to go get dressed, and very powerful stuff there. Definitely really like that. Nora then gets out Mary's chair and sees Loretta with her husband. Then her phone rings, and she thinks it's once again Allison. And this scene, guys, holy shit. I mean, I don't gasp a lot, but it's Laurie. Laurie is calling Nora, and I was like, holy shit. I mean, I knew eventually this would come together, but this is the episode where everything comes together, and I love that. She's not a miracle, she's back where she is, but she asks Nora if she's there, and Nora asks how she got this number. Laurie says she found on the internet. It's really easy to enlist if she wants. And Laurie has a bit of a predicament as well, because she can't find Tommy. Apparently they had a bit of a falling out, and she doesn't know where he is, and she tells him she's very worried about him, that she's sorry, she thanks her, and by the way, we hear a country version of the da 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 da, the background music we always hear. awesome. I love the way they did that. But holy shit, Laurie just called her, and I cannot imagine to think what just what their whole falling out was about. We're gonna find out in episode 8, but wow, I that scene was truly shocking. So she then goes to meet Kevin. But it's not the most shocking scene in the episode. We'll get to that. Surprisingly, that's how great this show is. That's not the only shocking scene. On any other show, that would be the ending of the episode on any other show. She then goes to meet Kevin, and he asks how Matt was, and she says he was fine. Says they should go to sit. And a woman tells him that they're taking donations for the reward fund and for the families to hire out-of-state resources for the church. And she says that they would love to give $500. And she asks if she has a PayPal account, since that's how they do the donations. And she says if she doesn't have one, she can set one up. Nora says she has one to make a donation. They take their seats, and Nora sees George. And she goes to him for 2 reasons. One, because she really wants questionnaire. 2, she has a genuine connection with him. So she pretends like she didn't see him. She introduces Kevin to George. She asks if she got the article. She says it was horseshit. He says their research guys thought it was pretty interesting stuff, and actually working some of it into the new questionnaire. And the fundraiser starts. Nora sees the man's suitcase, feels compelled to look inside because obviously she wants to get a go at these questions. She wants to see what they are. So Evie's choir then sings the town signature song. Really sad to see. I mean, that song, of course, about Mapleton that we heard in the first episode is back here, and Jill sees that Michael is really upset. I mean, this was his twin sister. Obviously, he really cares about her. And Emily gives a speech, and then Loretta announces the slideshow that they've made, the 3 girls, as all the parents break down. And really, again, another really powerful scene. And Northern opens George's bag, looks at his paperwork, and basically takes the file containing the questionnaire. And Kevin is obviously perplexed as to why she's doing this. He has no idea what's going on. The goat killer Jerry then comes in, and this scene was so great. All those things that we didn't know what the hell they were about in the first episode, why they do them? We actually get explanations. These were things that I didn't think we'd get explanations for because they don't explain anything on this show. But the fact that they actually explain these things in this scene was fantastic. And Regina King, holy shit. If Regina King does not get an Emmy nomination after this scene and then the next scene, I don't know if I'm gonna feel right with the world, because she was amazing in this scene. She stops George, but Emily says he's trying to help. Erika says he's crazy. He killed a goat on October 14th before any of them knew what happened, and was locked up in jail where he should have stayed. But then they all decide Jerry must have saved them, and that he knew something and sacrificed something to protect them. So now he walks around and kills goats whenever he feels like it. He does it as a sign of safety. Sacrifice is a sign of safety. So she tells John he lets him do it too, and if there aren't any miracles, a miracle, why does he get a pass? And I do agree with that. I mean, John gives that speech to everyone. So we find out that the bride, Cecilia, wears her wedding dress all the time because she was trying it on the day the departure happened. Again, little things, but I really like the way they're connecting the dots here. She gives a speech about how they are the 9,261 they are spared, but they're not spared. They're not safe. All the shit they walk around there doing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work. Her daughter's gone, and she tells Jerry no. She leaves. Nora goes to talk to her, and we get the biggest scene of the episode. This scene goes on for a good, I'd say 12 minutes. I mean, this scene was amazing. I mean, Carrie Coon and Regina King in this scene, probably the best scene we've had all season, honestly. We've had a lot of really great scenes, but I feel like this was the scene where everything just worked and added up, and you care so much for these 2 characters. So the episode really comes together after this scene. So she knocks on the door. She asks her if she's okay. She gives her the file containing the questions the DSD want to ask her, and she asks where she got it, and she says she borrowed it. The angel won't leave her alone, and she wanted her to have it so she could see that there's nothing to be scared of. And Erika asks what she's scared of. Nora says she's scared that if she answers these questions, everyone's going to know that her daughter didn't depart, and she asks if these questions will prove it, and tells Nora to come in and ask them. And these questions are very personal. These are things that Nora probably shouldn't have asked her, but she didn't really look it over. So she goes over the questions, she answers them. Some of them are just Evie's glasses, Evie's physical appearance, things like that. But then it gets really personal when she asks about her bank account, if she withdrew more than $1,000 from her bank account. And she says she did, and she was going to leave John. Yes, we find out in this episode, the big reveal is that Erika was going to leave John. And I obviously was shocked. I never thought she would say that because they seemed so happy. They didn't seem like a couple that was upset. But that's the thing. Every couple seems happy until you really know what's going on with them. That's the truth. I mean, think of how many couples there are that get divorced and seem happy. That's just how they are. That is the fake happiness that, they showed everyone. The same fake happiness that Nora always has when she just has that smile on her face. It's fake. It's not real. You can tell here that it is not real. Nora is shocked that they seem so happy, and she says, and basically, Erica gives her this long, drawn out story, but it's a very concise story and it really goes with her character. She says her grandmother was born there, they lived there all their life, and she used to tell them as kids this place was chosen. They didn't believe her, but she said there was a way to prove it. It is the way to make her wishes come true. This is the reason why Erica put the bird in the box and buried it, because her grandmother said it was always a sign of good luck, and she always thought it was just pretend, like, including God. She didn't even think God was real. And then on October 14th, people went away from everywhere except there. That was real and that happened. And she says her grandma had been dead for 10 years, but she was right. This place was chosen. And she says about a month ago, she was walking out to her car and she saw a sparrow right by the driver's side door lying there like it was trying to get her to help it. It was dehydrated, almost dead. She asked if she thinks she nursed it back to health, and she says depending on the size of the box, a bird can survive 20 hours. Anything over 30 hours is medically impossible, and this bird didn't have anything left, so she waited for 3 days, jogged out to the woods, saw the bird in the box, made her wish, and she wished her kids would be okay if she left because they had no idea she had to go and no idea what it's like to pretend. Michael has his faith, he'd be fine, but Evie wouldn't understand, and it would break her heart. So she wished she would be okay without her. She says she opened up the bird box, the box. The bird flew out, and the next night her daughter was gone. And she really feels it's because of this box. And Nora doesn't believe a bit of it. She says the logic is all over the place, and she says she wanted to leave her husband, and why didn't she go, and why not John? I mean, these are probably questions she shouldn't be asking her, but they are reasonable questions. If that really was true, why not her leave? Why not John? And I think it's mainly because Evie's the thing that's going to, ruin them the most. That's the thing. Evie's the one that would be hurt the most about it. And I think that's why she was probably the one that departed, because if Erica's theory is true, that is the one person that would leave that would hurt Erika the most. I mean, if Michael left, yes, she'd be upset, but he had his faith. And she asked if she wished all the people that disappeared away as well, because that's a lot of birds to bury. And she says she understands she's felt the same way as her, and she felt responsible for losing her children, and she thought it was her fault. But she moved past it and evolved because that's pathetic. She says terrible things happen in this world, and the only comfort we get is that we didn't cause them, and she says it has nothing to do with her. And Erika asks if they departed or died, and Nora says they departed, and she asks what the last words they said to her words, to the best of recollection. The close-ups in this scene were so good. I mean, we're finally getting the real side of these characters after seeing a very kind of like a superficial side of them. So Nora cries. She clearly never wanted to have to face this, and Erika cries as she leaves. Nora goes home to Kevin, and this was just great. The one thing she doesn't want to do is have another confession, because she just had to confess. She just heard a huge confession. She doesn't know how to feel about it. She just had to talk, she just had to relive some things that she's not happy about. And Kevin tells her that Mary's asleep, and Jill's putting the baby down upstairs. She says she'll go up and help out. And then he says that they need to talk, and it's important, and he needs to talk to her now. And he asks if she's been noticing he's been kind of losing his mind, and she doesn't really think anything of it. She's been so preoccupied by, what's been going on with the three missing teens, that she hasn't really focused on anything else. And you really see that in this scene. And, how he says how he's letting her handcuff him to the bed every night, and they're acting like it's normal, but it's not. And how, he forgot the baby, and she acts like that's normal. And, he says he's seeing someone. He says he's been seeing he's been seeing someone. She asks who it was, and he says it was Patti Lovin, and she says that she's dead. And he says it started happening right after they found Lily when she moved in. He thought it would go away when they came there, and it didn't. He asks if he's seeing her. She asks if he's seeing her right now, and she asks if she's talking to him, and he says she is. And she asks what she's saying, and he says he never should have told Nora about her, and they just made a big mistake. And then, basically, so now Kevin's screwed over because he just told Nora. And then Erika throws a rock right through the window, and her and Nora are no longer friends. They are sworn enemies, you can tell. And that's how the episode ends. And holy shit, guys, what a great episode. So many amazing things here. I mean, Carrie Coon, Regina King, and of course, the guy who plays Kevin, I always forget his name, but everyone in this episode deserves an Emmy nomination. That scene was amazing. The fact that he actually told her, and the fact that he was honest with her, I really respect. I mean, you really didn't know if he was going to be honest with her about it, but luckily he was. He needed to tell her. This was something that needed to be confessed, and I'm happy that he told her about it. But it looks like next week things are going to be crazy. Him telling Patti about Nora, he's going to run into a lot of problems. And I'm starting to think that Patti might be responsible for these departures to make Kevin go crazy. I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen here. We'll have to see what happens with that. But Erika and Nora, I felt really bad for Erika because obviously they had a bond. They were friends, and now they're not. They're not friends at all. Erika's really pissed Nora because Nora's had to bring up some things that Erika did not want to have to bring up, and obviously she's really upset with her because of that, and I felt really bad for Erika because of that whole thing. We'll have to see what happens with that. Nora, like I said, is not okay. You can tell that Nora's not okay. She's acting okay, but she's not okay, and I think she needs to understand that. That's, like I said, that smile she puts on every time she comes to the door, that's not real. It's not real. Is John ever gonna find out that Erika's gonna leave him? Does she still plan on leaving him? I mean, I don't think she can. Who's gonna take care of Michael? Who's gonna be there for him? I mean, she can't leave him now. She just can't. The departure is basically giving her a reason not to leave John. That's basically what that's all about. But the other interesting part of this is John lashing out at Virgil. Who is Virgil? I mean, Erika lashing out at Virgil. Who is Virgil? What connection does he have to the family? Obviously, we know that he's the man that John hurt, but what other connection does he have? The fact they actually answered some of those little details right there really shows how great this show is with that. They did a very good job. I didn't expect the bird to be as heartwarming as it was, but it really was a very heartbreaking scene. I definitely really like what we saw there. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Also, is George going to find out that Nora took the questionnaire? I mean, he's going to be pissed if he finds out. We'll have to see what happens with that. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. Overall, guys, amazing episode. By far the best of the season. And I will see you guys. And I know next week looks even better. So I'm probably going to say it next week as well. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. And also, what's going on with Laurie? Why did Tommy leave? We need to know. Why did Tommy leave? I really want to know what's going on there. But I will see you guys in the next video, which will be for Homeland. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.